It's the presentation part of our meeting. If you're just joining us, you're coming in part way through to the fortnightly meeting of the Fleet Services Group. So we're a group of people that have known each other for some months or some years in some cases. We all work in the fleet industry, helping businesses manage cars, vans, HGVs, compliance, fuel, you name it. We have a kind of combined solution across the Fleet Services Group that can service more size of business and most of their transport needs. So what this is about today, every 2 weeks, one of the members of the Fleet Services Group will do an educational piece, a presentation about something topical in their industry, something that's going on. And this week we have Jan Evans. Jan, say hello.
Hello.
Hello. So Jan is going to be talking to us this morning about the DVS scheme that's affecting HGV operators in and around London. So without further ado, Jan, over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. Yeah, my name's Jan. My company's Jets GPS Fleet Solutions. And today I'm talking to you about the DVS scheme, which actually came live at the end of October. Now it's getting a bit more serious for those fleets that haven't done anything about it. So what is the DVS scheme? It's the direct vision standard that the Transport for London have brought in, and it's all about protecting cyclists and pedestrians from HGVs operating within the M25 ring. So each vehicle that goes into Greater London has to be fitted with a certain standard of safety equipment, otherwise they get quite a savage fine. So I will very quickly share my screen to tell you what the absolute basic is. 1 second. So this is the absolute minimum that is required to register and get a permit on the scheme. So, and it's all about covering the blind spots so they can see cyclists. A lot of cyclists in London. There's a lot of accidents involving cyclists and there's a lot of fatalities. So it's covering that blind spot for the drivers to try and prevent that. So they have a side camera connected to a monitor so the driver can visually see what's in his blind spot here. Also, side proximity sensors. So there's sensors down the side of the HGV, and that will alert when they're turning left of anything within that zone. Also, again, when the left indicator goes on, an audible left turn alarm. This vehicle is turning left. So if they've got their earphones on, it's not going to make any difference, but you know, it's there. You'd hope they wouldn't have their earphones on. So they have to get that fitted. They have to then register through the Transport for London website. They have to take some pictures, show the vehicle, and they get a permit. That's for the absolute basic. Now, they've extended it by 3 months. It's a period of grace that they're calling it. Obviously, with everything that's been going on with COVID, fleets have been affected massively. A lot of the HGV fleets have been busier than ever. They can't afford to take the vehicles off the road. So Transport for London have given a grace period, but it is with caveats. They have to, by the end of February, register that they have ordered and have an installation booked of any vehicles that they want to register. If they haven't done that by the end of February and those vehicles go into London, they can be hit with a fine of up to £550. So it's quite an investment for the fleets. There's no two ways around it. If they're operating within London, they've got to spend some money on safety equipment for their fleets. Now, my opinion is if you're spending the money, you might as well do it once and do it right. So what we're fitting much more than the basic is this kind of standard. So on top of the basic, I don't see the point in investing the money without being able to record the footage. Yes, it helps the driver, but it doesn't help the company defend itself if it hasn't got that footage and it's not to blame in an accident. So we're putting in a digital recorder. It's got live streaming, remote playback. So the fleet can be in Blackburn. The truck has an incident in London. They can get that footage within a few minutes. A forward camera. We put one on the other side. We put a rear. And most vehicles now are coming as standard with a reversing alarm. That, for me, it gets you up to a higher grade in the DVS scheme, which means you don't need to re-register the vehicle as often, which again, it just gets rid of an administrative task. And if you're doing the investment, my thought is always do it right first time, rather than, you know, doing what you've absolutely got to, and then 12 months down the line, you think, oh, hang on, we should have done it properly. And it's going to cost you more money. The key point is, if you've got vehicles that are 12 tons or over and you operate in London, you have to take this very, very seriously this month. You have to get your order in and prove that to Transport for London by the end of February. Otherwise, that either your trucks can't operate in London or they're going to get the fines. Really, that was it. You know, it's pretty simple stuff. It's black and white now. It's removed all the grey and open the floor to questions.
Thanks, John. I know there's a few people that probably have some questions. Anybody wants to kick off? I've got a couple, but anybody else want to go first?
I'll ask one. Jan, you say about the fines. What are the fines?
It's up to £550 per vehicle per day.
Right.
So if it goes into London twice in the week, it can be up to 1,100 quid. Obviously, it's like with a parking fine; they reduce it if you pay it quickly. But yeah, it can be quite savage. You know.
So there's no alternative then, is there? You've got to get it done.
Yeah, there's no choice. If you operate in London, you have to do something about this month if you haven't already.
I'll be amazed if the traffic commissioners aren't being made aware of fines being issued and take action against operators as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, you'll know this, Scott. It actually came into effect at the end of October, and because of COVID, they've delayed the fines. They'll have been logging it. They'll have been logging who's been coming in and who hasn't registered. So they'll have a good idea already.
Jan, have you got sort of examples of where you've had a customer and they've been kicking and screaming, saying, no, we don't want this. But then once it's been fitted, they're a changed company and they're saying, wow, this is the best thing we've ever done?
Yeah, pretty much everyone. Once they get it in, they don't know how to cope without it. You know, the big thing is now that the remote download from the DVR, it's not as expensive as it was a few years ago. A few years ago, it was quite cost prohibitive. But now you can be operating in Dundee. Your truck has an accident in Kent. You've got that footage. You can get that to your insurer. You can see what's happened. You can make a very, very good judgment call if you've got 4 or 5 cameras in the vehicle as to what's happened all around the vehicle and where the blame lies, which, you know, Mark, for an insurance company, that's gold, isn't it, having that quickly?
Absolutely.
I mean, I was just going to add to that. So usually in the event of a serious type accident, the police will seize the digital recorder and the data on it. So if you've not got an upload of it, you're not going to see it until the police decide at some point in the future to release it to you, are they?
Oh, absolutely. You know, we've had that where vehicles have been impounded and they've just gone and put the ignition on so they can download the footage before it's gone from them.
And I was reading up about this in anticipation of your presentation this morning, and I don't know if you'd mentioned this, but it's actually called the Direct Vision Standard, isn't it? And it seems to me, correct me if I'm wrong, it's driven by the visibility from the cab for pedestrians and cyclists and things like that. Is that right?
Absolutely right.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So some new vehicles are fitted to the standard, aren't they? Is that?
Yeah, and there are. I don't think, certainly from my experience, you know, my fitters are spending half their time at manufacturers at the moment. you know, kitting out vehicles before the end user takes delivery. So as it stands at the moment, I don't think there's many of the manufacturers that are being proactive with it. It's driven by the clients. It's driven by the end users.
From what I understand as well, it's almost like a self-certification scheme as well.
Yeah, it is. It takes some pictures, send them to us, and one thing that does seem strange, you know, a lot of my clients that are, you know, forward thinking, they've gone, you know, for at least 3-star DVS, which is with the recorder and so on, so they don't have to keep re-registering. They seem to be being issued with the basic DVS. I don't know whether that's just because, you know, Transport for London are just inundated with these now, as everyone's scrambling to get it done. You know, a lot of companies have left it till the last minute. But yeah, I think that's something that will be going on for a few months, where they get the actual star rating right for each client.
Yeah, I think the self certification applies to just single vehicle usage, and you get on a bit 0-star basis from my understanding. So I don't think it'll work for fleets.
I don't know, because, you know, I'm just going off what my clients have told me, and where they've registered all the vehicles that they've had fitted, they've all been issued 0-star, no matter what they've had fitted. So I don't know, you know.
Jan, if I may,
trying to catch up, aren't they?
Yeah, that's what I think.
Well, Jan, I know this isn't necessarily representative of the whole country, but in your experience of the clients you're talking to, the clients you're aware of, there must be a lot of people who haven't done this yet. Why aren't they doing it? What's stopping them? And if they want to do it, what's the process to get it done?
Oh, it's not cheap to get done. Even getting the basic done, it's, you know, if you've got a fleet of 20 trucks, it's a significant investment. You know, so there's things like, you know, finance options that they can do to spread that cost, where, you know, you can of course help them out with that, Mark. There's been supply issues, you know, since November 19. There's been supply issues in our industry, and it's just been a one component or one sort of camera, but that can hold the whole thing up for weeks until the kit comes into the country. We've had incidents where, you know, the kit's been being held at the ports for 3 weeks until it's been released. You know, the key thing is now they've got that 3 months grace, so it allows for all of those things that have held it up.
Well, they've got to stick it in before the 1st of March, haven't they?
They've got to place their order. Yeah,
after the 1st.
They've got to prove to Transport for London that they've ordered it and they're getting it fitted before the 1st of March.
Jan, can I ask a question, please? Is there a plan to roll this out to the rest of the country, or is it just staying in Greater London?
Again, it's pure speculation, but I can't see how they wouldn't, you know, move this. It'll start creeping up north. You know, Birmingham, then Liverpool, Leeds, Manchester. It'll end up being the standard for going into cities.
Have you seen much, Jan? Go on, Mark.
Scott, go on, Scott.
Yeah, have you seen much from insurers asking for details of DVS on renewals or anything along those lines, or benefits from insurance? Have you heard, or anybody else heard on the group?
That's probably one for Mark, rather than me.
Yeah.
The one thing the insurers have not been doing is publicising about this, or have they been requesting confirmation of it. It's one of those that it's purely down to the client, so they aren't pushing for it. Obviously, by fitting cameras, etc., there are benefits to that, and it's not your instant discount. It's running that better run fleet over a period of 1, 2, 3 years. That will reflect in your claims experience, and the savings you'll make in your premium are unbelievable. Huge savings.
Thank you. And any more questions, guys?
Yeah, the star rating, obviously you mentioned that they're all going to be set at 0. Is the only benefit from having a higher star rating, other than obviously the benefit of all the equipment, is that you don't have to renew it as frequently as you would do from a 1-star to a 5-star, say?
Yeah, that's my understanding. Yeah, you just don't have to. I think you get 10 years as opposed to 2.
Right. In the early stages, that because things will be held up. I mean, what's the viewpoint on, say, for example, someone was travelling to London, but it was a complete one-off? Would they still need to comply?
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's a worry about people that just aren't aware.
Yeah.
I think they're probably the ones that are, dragging their heels a little bit about doing it, and there might even be some people thinking of taking the risk, but obviously not what they need to do. Because
there seems to be very few exemptions to the rule.
Yeah.
It's like, I think it's telehandlers, isn't it, and like mobile cranes and things like that, but they're few and far between. So like construction vehicles,
stuff like that.
Yeah.
Great, thank you. Any other questions, guys? Well, I've got a nice one just to close off with, Jan. Obviously, you want people to come to you to talk about this solution that they need to this problem going into London. Just give us a rough idea. I know it's all probably specific to clients and needs and everything, but what kind of investment might they be needing to make, and what's the kind of lead time, and how quickly can you sort this out for people?
Yeah, for the basic, you're looking at about £900 fitted.
Okay.
As it stands at the moment, we're very well stocked. It's purely engineers, and particularly if they need a Saturday install, which a lot do. We're well booked up in advance for Saturdays. So our customers now who've left it late haven't got that luxury, that they are having to take vehicles off the road because we're just too busy.
Fantastic, and thank you, Jan. Guys, if you're watching this, go to Jan's LinkedIn page. There's lots of videos and testimonials and examples of clients that he's doing this type of work for. It's very much their focus at the moment, so please do get in touch. Hope you've enjoyed it this morning. It's the first time we've shared this type of content that we usually have in private in our fortnightly meeting that we have, and we're going to be kind of going around the members and doing this on a semi-regular basis. So if you are watching this from outside the group, you're in the fleet industry or you're running vehicles and you've got some questions about a particular topic that you feel one of the members could help you with, please let us know. Please comment below and get in touch. But for today, thanks everybody for coming, and thank everybody for watching.